And then this one.
Okay.
Beautiful. Welcome to the show, Miss Selena Rae. Thank you so much for being here. We're so grateful you made the scary flight all the way over.
I made it.
You made it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes.
No, it's a serious pleasure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Such a pleasure. So Selena Rae is a connection coach and she is an author, practicing and teaching how to bravely live in alignment with who you truly are through compassionate exploration in your self-connection journey.
Yes.
You have a book and you are a co-author of The Sovereign.
Yes.
Like, come on. Look at you. Good job.
Oh, yeah. I need an intro often. It makes me feel like,
just the badass woman that you are.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what? If you need, just give me a little call, and then I'm going to introduce you. I'll be like, okay, let's go. We're going to boost that feeling right up to the roof and let you know about it.
When I'm in, like, the grit of motherhood, be like,
oh,
I am a connection coach and an author, kids.
Do you know who
I
am?
Have you met your mom?
I love that.
How old are your kids, Selena?
They are 12, 10, and 8.
Wow.
Yes,
Boy,
they're in the
girl.
sweet spot.
Yeah.
My oldest and youngest are girls. My middle son has a challenging life. He lives in a house of women. Even the cat is a girl.
He chose it. He chose it.
He certainly did. He is, just the sweetest,
Aww.
most sensitive little tiny human. I love him so much. And my girls are strong and fierce and, yeah.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My oldest is very similar to me in so many ways.
Yeah.
My son is so similar to his dad in so many ways. My youngest she's been here far more times than the rest of us.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I don't know. She doesn't resemble anybody, so she is a constant learning experience for me. Yeah.
She's probably that constant little trigger, the check-in, like, hey.
Yeah, she is.
The teacher.
I'll tell you this story. So just before I had Genevieve, that's her name, I had a stillborn son, and I was in a terrible place. It kind of was the demise of my marriage. I think that when you lose a child, you either get closer together or you break apart.
Okay.
Damn.
And so my marriage kind of ended then. And then it just so happened that a few weeks later, I got pregnant, and we ended up staying together until Genevieve was born. And I went to an Eckhart Tolle retreat about, I don't know, I think she was 5 years old, and I got to sit in the hot seat and ask Kim, his wife, a question. And I had just started my journey, so there was a lot of shame and guilt surrounding the fact that I had already imprinted a lot of negativity and trauma onto my own children because I was so unaware and unconscious. And so I was like, how do I teach my children? And Kim said to me, you don't. You be what you want them to be.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I can do that. I can work on me. I can be the best me and model to them. That I can handle. And then as I was leaving, this woman came up to me and she said, I just have to tell you that your youngest daughter, she chose you, just like all of your children. And I didn't really have any concept of that at that point.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, sure. And she said she saw that you were broken, and she said, I picked that one. Whoa.
Oh, dude,
God,
you're getting me.
I knew we needed tissues for a reason. Holy dang.
And so she is such a catalyst for change for me. And even like when she was quite young, I mean, she's developed an ego now that she's 8, and so she's lost a little bit of her connection, but she'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she remembers being born. She remembers, and I just didn't have any understanding that part of the world existed because I was raised in a very fundamentalist religion, and I ended up leaving and then starting, you kind of swing to the other side of the pendulum. So full atheist. I don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
Nothing exists. And then I've found my middle ground in spirituality. And so, yeah, so as we were talking about, he chose me. I had confirmation that Genevieve chose me. She knew. And I don't know if I would have survived. I'm sure I would have. But in my hindsight, it feels like I wouldn't have had I not had a brand new baby to take care of when my husband and I split up. I was so broken. And I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I thought, like, they could have, you know, they made their own cereal, they watched cartoons, I could have never gotten out of bed.
Yeah.
But I had this baby who relied on me fully, and I don't know, like, how I would have made it without her, and I feel like she knew that. She picked me. It is the greatest gift that when you figure out that it's different, your children choose you.
Yeah.
Then you get to do the work of realizing you chose your parents.
Nailed it.
That's a whole other side.
No kidding.
Yes, and
well,
acceptance
in a more
and forgiveness.
in a more new awakened state too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's face it, our children now are not going to have to go through what we went through with our parents.
No.
We're new awakened beings now, and they're also so awake and so aware.
They're so connected.
With a small cerebral cortex. My 18-year-old, I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I'm just entering that with my 12-year-old. Like, she's just starting to lose her brain. And I'm like, okay, we're in this. We got this.
Yeah,
because
good for you.
You'll come back to me, baby.
Yeah.
I know you will.
100%. And that's also not having that attachment, right? That's another level.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
we're both like,
I know, I had to breathe because I was like, oh my gosh,
so
my
much.
kids both did that, but they both came back. So
yeah,
something to look forward to.
So, Miss Selena, I would like for you to kind of go back, because obviously our viewers and everybody that you're going to be brand new to them. So let's talk a little bit about your story of how you got to this place of being a connection coach and an author, and what got you, like, it's like that darkness to get you to see the light. What was all that?
Oh, I love this story so much because I have, like I said, like you introduced, I have taken compassion as the gateway for me to really figure out who I am and to love myself and then teach that, because there's so much shame in who I used to be or who I have evolved from. So I grew up with a fairly violent home and an addict father who left when I was 4, and my mom was 31 years old and pregnant with my little brother, and my life then moved on. I was in multiple abusive situations, sexually abused, and then emotionally abusive boyfriends, because the girl who has been sexually abused is just desperately looking for somebody to validate her. And then I decided I was gonna do the right thing. So like I said, I grew up with religion, and so there was a belief system around the right thing to do. So you go to college, you graduate, you find a husband, you wait to have sex until you're married, then you get married, and everything's apparently supposed to be amazing, and then you have children, and there was like no prescription after that point. And so after I had done all of those things and I was miserable, my marriage was over, but it hadn't ended yet. And my husband decided, with no warning and no explanation, that he was leaving. And my kids were 4, 2, and brand new. And I had this incredible moment of recognizing that I was 31 years old, my oldest daughter was 4, and I had recreated my mother's entire life. Despite having done all the things different that I thought in the prescription. I went to college. My mom didn't go to college. I waited to have sex till I was married. I waited to have children. I did all of these things, and yet somehow subconsciously I had recreated the exact life that I was trying to avoid, of being married to somebody who was going to walk out on me and leave me with little kids. And I was like, oh, so I either have to start taking an active role in my life, or I'm going to continually repeat patterns that I don't even recognize, or at such a subconscious level. And so I started to do some work to figure out who I was. I ended up leaving my church and, you know, exploring myself. I explored with dating people outside of what I would have ever dated before. I figured out who I actually like wanted to be by just experimenting with trying new things and figuring out this wasn't for me. I started going to like Eckhart Tolle retreats.
Love him.
And he's life-changing.
No kidding.
The power of now.
Yeah.
Changed.
We're big
And
fans.
then I went to Vipassana, a 10-day silent retreat.
Ooh.
So I am verbose, if nothing else. I talk a lot and I connect through talking. And so I was silent for 10 days and just recognized, like had the awareness that must come, that my brain just never stops. Like, this is not true. Whatever's happening in here can't be true because it never ends.
Mm-hmm.
And I started traveling by myself because I was terrified to be alone. And I started trying to figure out how to parent my kids in a more conscious way and make different decisions. And I just like committed to my own journey and did what Kim said to me was to just be the person that I wanted to model. And I think like there was a lot of hardship in the early years of my separation because I was so bitter about having to be a mom and having no life outside of that.
Right.
For the first couple of years, my ex-husband wasn't really that much involved. He was dealing with his own demons and trying to work through his own stuff, which he did successfully and was able to come back and integrate into his kids' lives really in an amazing way. But in those between years, I was so bitter and I hated being a mom, and then I hated myself for hating being a mom.
Shit.
And I just lived in this cycle, and so I decided that I was going to do something different, and every time something came up that scared me, I decided I was going to try and push through that. And even like up into the point of writing in this book, you know, the opportunity came up and I was like, oh, that's fucking terrifying, so I better do it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Why? I'm sure we could answer this question for you, but I want to hear it from you, and so our audience. Why were you doing the things that scared you?
I had lived my entire life up until that point, up until like 32 years old, terrified of everything. So I had such severe anxiety that I couldn't eat hardly anything. I would break out in a rash. I thought I was allergic to everything.
Wow.
I had severe chronic pain, which had been diagnosed early in my life as endometriosis, and was later in life my belief being that, you know, it was tied to my trauma that I hadn't processed at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid to get on planes, so I hadn't been on a plane in 15 years. Now, I probably would have been on a plane a couple of years ago had I been allowed to, but, you know,
Same thing.
I
now we can.
There were so many things that I refused to do, and, you know, like my mom, she's this amazing, strong woman, and she has her fears and she has her story, but she was terrified of water. Okay. Because she almost drowned as a child, or perhaps she almost watched someone, I can't remember, but terrified of water. So I never went in the water. So then I inherited this fear of water, and I never went in the water, and I was like, my kids are going to get this from me. Yeah. So I forced myself to go into the water. I still can't really swim. I still don't love it, but I will go in the water so that my kids, and I feel, even though, like I'm saying, I was so angry about having to be a mom and I felt like I lost so much, it is the thing that propelled me. Like, my love for my kids, it knows no bounds. And as much as I was like so bitter about the hand I had been dealt in my mind, I also realized that if I wanted something better for my kids, I was going to have to do better for me. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing all of those things. And even yesterday, you know, I'm crying and my kids are all crying. They don't want me to leave. Aww. And they're having a hard time with it because I don't ever leave them. They go to their dads, but I don't. Yeah. But I don't go anywhere usually, right?
Yeah.
And my little one is crying, and I'm like, I don't like leaving you either, and I am very scared to get on this plane. And she said, people say all the time that adults aren't afraid of anything. And I was like, that's not true. And she's like, I know, because you're afraid of planes, and you're going to get on this plane. And I'm like, yep. And she hands me a quarter, and she's like, here's a lucky quarter for you, Mom.
Oh, that's so
And
cute.
I walked away from that, like, that's the entire reason. That is my whole life right there. Because my kid will never think that it's not normal to be afraid.
Right.
Like, I want you to know that fear is normal. I want you to know that you can still do it, even though you feel afraid.
Yeah.
So
That's a beautiful example.
somehow I just wrapped this all around to be like this person who hated that I was a mom and that it held me back from, from love. Like, how many men didn't want to date me because I had 3 little kids.
Bye,
And-
Felicia. Who cares?
But at the time, it
At
felt
the
like
time,
that
yeah.
was, because my wound was about being chosen by a man.
Totally.
So then every time somebody wouldn't choose me because of my kids, then it fueled this bitterness towards them that now has turned into this, like, the deepest gratitude and appreciation that they chose me and that I have gone through these difficult years, because I would not be who I was
That's
without
right.
that. And I think we all have to get to that point, right, where we feel the bitterness of our past and our pain, and then get to the place where, like, I couldn't be this person. And I really, really like this person now.
Yeah.
I really like who I am. I like how I show up. I'm not always on point as a mom. I still struggle with a lot of old wounds and behaviors, but I'm a good mom. I'm committed to my kids. And, like, when you like yourself, it's so much easier to be like, well, I guess that happened to me because it was supposed to. I wouldn't be here in this way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Selena, that's fucking dope.
Thanks.
It's-
I feel pretty good about it.
Well, being a
Yeah.
parent is one of the hardest jobs, and I think
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes I pull back, retract a little bit on that comment, because I think being a step parent is probably harder at times.
Oh, yeah.
But for the sake of having the children to give you that oomph of life, give you
Yeah.
something to work towards, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my children.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have been that strong individual like the women I see. But I mean, of course, if they can do it, of course I could do it. But at the time, I don't know that I could have.
It's like our hearts are walking outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And one of my best friends, she doesn't have children, and so I would feel jealousy and envy a lot with her. And she, she's so gracious with me, but she said to me recently, like, I don't have the mirror that you have that has inspired your growth and your change. Like, the work is a little bit harder for me because I don't have it constantly reflected back to me.
That's right.
And just the ability to be aware that it's a gift to have your 12-year-old show up exactly the way that you do and frustrate you to no end, because it gives you this mirror to be able to see yourself with a little bit more compassion and grace. I didn't realize that in my time of, like, envy of her situation, that she was free to do whatever she wanted and not tied down. She was feeling a different kind of struggle and pain because, she didn't have this gift that I was taking for granted.
I know. It's hard to look at it like that sometimes. And I find, too, it's like, even with my son, he's just showing me all these things, but I'm reparenting myself. Through him. And I know that you guys can all resonate with that, because it's like the things that I wish that would have happened for me, I'm now able to do that for him. And it's like we're rewriting the script in that moment.
Last weekend I was with my mom and my brother, and my 12-year-old, she did something that she shouldn't have done with her brother. And so I'm trying to balance between, like, giving solutions and support, right? But, like, part of me is like, I'm your mom and I'm the one that needs to redirect you in this. And so I'm talking her through it, and she's going through the, like, defensiveness. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. And then to the acceptance, which causes the deflection of, like, well, I'm just a bad person and I'm the worst, and walking her through that into this, like, acceptance. And it was probably a 40-minute conversation.
Wow.
And afterwards, my mom said to me, wow, you are really good at talking to her. You really get her. And I was like, Mama, I am just parenting myself right now.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing in this
Yeah.
moment. I think that we take for granted what knowing ourselves will actually offer to our children, because the better I know me, the more I can recognize in you the pieces that are shameful to admit that you need help walking through. And you know, it is a value for me to really do my work and figure out who I am and what triggers me and why I react certain ways and what my insecurities show up as, so that I can see in my own children when things show up that they don't have words for, they don't understand, so that I can do exactly what you say of reparenting myself through the way that I show up for them. You know, and our kids are going to complain. I always tell my children that my job is not to make sure you don't need therapy. My job is to make sure you have access to it quicker. And that you don't need it for as long as I did. That's literally my that's all I can offer you. You're going to need therapy. I'm going to mess up.
Everybody should.
Lots of times.
Everybody should.
But like, let me be able to offer you something a little bit faster, whether that's therapy or whether that's, you know, walking you through a 12-year-old temper tantrum. I mean, our kids will recognize that, and they will be better parents than we were, because they will have more tools. You know, we're all, like, I look at my mom and there's things that I wish that she hadn't done, but she did so much better than her parents.
That's right.
And I'm doing so much better than my parents, and not out of like vindictive behavior towards them, not out of anger towards them, but out of like love for my kids and myself.
I was going to say yourself.
Knowing what I deserved.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
There's I can tell you already. I just want to add.
Go ahead.
Just this beautiful part when you talk about compassion. That's the first step before forgiveness. So to have compassion, because you can't forgive without the compassion.
Yeah.
So I think that's so beautiful how you mirror that, and just to give a perspective, you're the leader for your children, but now you're the leader for the fucking world. Yeah. Just by doing what's good for you.
And in alignment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So fucking powerful, Selena, and this is why we have you on the show, because you really inspired us in Calgary, and the thing that really turned us on was that you showed up on the stage without shoes.
Yeah. I'm also on this stage without shoes.
That was hot.
We were like, so good.
That's our people. Right there.
There we go.
And she's a fucking mermaid. But she says she's afraid of water. We'll fix that.
We'll fix that. She just forgot. She forgot in this lifetime. We'll help you remember. This is exactly it. Something that I just came to me that is not on your resume is speaker now.
Yes, babe.
So we've got connection coach and author, and I'm like, what the? I just wrote it down here. I'm like,
Speaker.
You spoke at the Calgary Kid Carson show. You're here at the Vancouver Kid Carson show, and you're going to be at.
I'm going to be at the NYM conference.
NYM.
So are we.
Oh,
boom, boom.
Awesome.
Yeah, girl.
Awesome.
Are you going to
miss
You're going to
that.
be speaking? Or
I
you going?
have submitted my application or whatever, my video to speak.
Nice.
Yes.
Awesome.
So
Fantastic.
I'm very excited, because I think that building my business has been, you know, it's other level of self-work and growth and development when you're trying to build a business, even if it has nothing to do with personal growth. It shows
oh my God.
you so much, and I learned so much about myself in starting my first business, and I know that business grows when you know who you are, and I love to teach about that.
And that's the message for today, standing in our ultimate truth and who we are, because that's the fingerprint, that's the signature of what you can bring to the table to this beautiful community.
Yeah.
Creating a culture of truth seeking within ourselves.
Truth seekers.
Yeah. And making it safe, I think that's why compassion resonates with me so much, because it makes it safe to seek truth, because in order to seek the truth you have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to change your mind.
Oh my God.
When I grew up in the religion that I grew up in, I believed with all of my heart that it was the only way.
Shit.
And when that fell away from me, my entire world collapsed.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. I was so confused because my identity was wrapped up in my faith. And when my faith disappeared, I didn't know like where to even begin. And so I think that figuring out that I could be wrong about that, and I could still be wrong about it. Maybe I was right before. I don't know.
Good
but
for you.
I'm okay that I don't know. And that's because I have compassion for myself, that I'm human and I'm not here to live a perfect life. I'm here to experience whatever there is to experience. And that's going to require me to make a lot of mistakes.
That's right.
And that gives me this freedom to constantly be on this journey of seeking the truth. Recognizing that you're never actually going to hold it in your hands. Mm. You know, it is not something that's tangible. It's not something that is attainable in this lifetime, likely.
It's just a constant evolution.
This constant evolution.
Yeah.
And
we're students for this whole life.
Yeah, the school of life, right?
Earth School is what I call it.
Oh, yes. Where have I heard this?
Dolores Cannon.
Oh, I love it. Earth School.
Yeah.
I was
Grandma
listening to
D.
your podcast with, I think, Deidre, and I was like, Earth School.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Earth School is my jam.
Yeah, because if you think that the truth is like something that you can grab onto, it doesn't make the journey enjoyable.
No.
You know, you feel like you're failing if you don't have it. But once you realize that it's somewhat elusive, you get to like enjoy figuring out, like, this works for me. And my truth is different than yours. When I was going to the rallies during all of this, I was writing up signs. And one of the signs that I had written was, how do I teach my children to speak their truth when I let the government cover their mouths? And I had so many people come up to me and say, no, not speak their truth, speak the truth. And I was like, oh, honey.
Dang.
Oh,
you don't
honey,
know.
You just gave me goosebumps for
You
that.
don't know.
No, you don't know.
My children's truth is not my truth.
Exactly. And nor should it be.
No. And if it is, then I have done something remiss, because they don't get to be who they are. They get to be who I want them to be. I don't want to mold them. Like, I do, because it would be way easier to parent them if they would just do things my way.
Yeah, but that's not the reality.
But like,
yeah,
I set the intention a long time ago that my intention with my children is to raise them so that they know and love themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Which means that I don't get to know them better than they know themselves.
That's right.
And that is very difficult as a parent who has like all of this worldly knowledge.
Yeah.
To not overwhelm your child's own intuition, you know?
No, it's just about learning. How much can we be a master of our own shadow?
Yeah.
Just bring in the knowledge of how to be, and the pieces will just fall into place as they should.
Yeah.
So dope.
And having a safe and secure place to be able to acknowledge that and speak that is the gift. Yeah. That's the gift.
Yeah, giving your kids permission to speak their truth can be very affronting, because it often feels like a personal attack.
I agree.
So
they say it so perfectly, don't they? They're like no shame, no fucks given. They just fucking say it. And how can you get mad? It's like they're such perfect beings, and when they speak that level of truth, you have to consider it.
Yeah.
You really do. Like,
it's usually a message.
The other day I was arguing with my kid, and I'm getting so mad at her, and I'm telling her how she should have done something. And afterwards, I'm like, you've got to get a little bit better at feedback, Lorelai. And she's like, that wasn't feedback, that was criticism.
Whoa.
And she's like, I do need to get better at feedback, because that's very hard for me, but I don't need to get better at taking criticism. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not wrong, baby.
Wow.
You're not wrong. And like, just so to the point, and something that I would teach in like a very calm, serene moment, like, we don't give people criticism. We give them feedback in a safe way. And then she's just like, mirror that back for you right there, Mom.
Yeah. It's like, you want to dish it out? Well, you better eat it. I get that from Cassius all the time. From my son.
Oh, he always tells
me.
She said the F word again, Mom.
Like, swore. Yeah.
Like, Cassie, that's just who I am. That's how I talk.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. So, I'd love to know about this book, The Sovereign. I don't
love
know.
the title.
I don't. Yeah, the title says it all. But I don't know anything of it yet, and I would definitely like to know more about it and read it. But if you could share, how did that come to your plate?
So I had been following Sarah Swain for quite a while, and she had this brilliant idea of writing the stories of people's experiences throughout the pandemic, especially those who had felt shunned or disconnected or shamed, and making sure that history had a copy of this side of the story. Because we all know what was being portrayed in the media, and so many of us felt like our voices were being taken away, and quite literally were. I've been shadow banned so many times I can't even count.
Really? For just speaking your truth?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was posting about those signs,
yeah,
just immediately.
You need to take it
all
off.
of a sudden, you know, like, I don't know. My followers would just like drop. My story views would drop on Instagram, and then I'd have to post like a, you know, I love Trudeau sticker on my stories, and all of a sudden I'm back, right?
That's disgusting.
So we worked around it. Nevertheless, I digress. So Sarah was like, there needs to be some sort of record of this. And so she put a call out for people to tell their stories. Now, you know, when you hear like, I'm going to write a book someday. Yes. So many of us say that. Mm-hmm. And someday...
Hey, it's right here.
Excellent. Yes.
It's here.
So someday, like, stood in front of my face.
Okay.
And I had been planning to write a book for a very long time. I love to write.
Sorry. Keep going, but this is perfect. I'm being called the fuck out right now. This is great.
With compassion.
Yeah. You're forgiven.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I live for words. I think that it is an incredible way to connect with people. Mm-hmm. And I love to tell a story. And so I'm going to write about my life. My life is interesting. I've had a lot of trauma. I've had a lot of triumph. It is a classic story. So I'm going to write this book. And I'm going to put this off until the end of time. And then Sarah says this. And I'm like, oh, this is my gateway. It's not a book, but it's a chapter. Mm-hmm. And
it's an important.
So there was 15 of us, including her, who were all offered an opportunity to write a chapter in this book. And I sat down and I somehow channeled whatever, wrote, like, you know, you read it afterwards and you're like, man, that's actually really good. I like it. Yes. And, you know, it was this incredible healing experience because there was still a lot of grief. You know, I did have a personal services business, I still do, that was shut down multiple times. I had children that were kept out of rec centers, and I had to overcome with my previous husband because we were on different sides of the fence, and so we really had to work hard to get on the same page about things, which thankfully he was incredibly open-minded and willing to do that.
Amazing.
Thankfully.
Thank God.
Oh, I'm so grateful for that man. And so there was a lot of healing that came through writing out this story. But the thing that I actually didn't write about my medical status. I didn't write about any of the things that happened because my story happened before that. My story started with when they started mandating things. That wound of being forced to do something to my body or have something done to my body from my own sexual assault and abuse history started coming up, and I was like, oh no, I know me. I've done my work. I know that this isn't okay with my intuition. Like,
it doesn't feel right.
And I actually had no issue with the medical side of it. I had issue with the coercion. Like, you can't force me to do something against my will. And while I wrote through my story, I was able to put it together that that's what was happening for me. So there was this entire different level of healing, you know, and I think that we heal in stages and in layers as things become revealed to us. You know, like when I first had kids, I thought that I had healed a lot of my sexual trauma, and then I had children, and I was like, oh no, what if this happens to them? And I had to go through that again. Damn. Right? And then I'm writing in this book, and I'm realizing that I am being ousted from my community, which is incredibly important to me, because I'm refusing to give in to something that doesn't feel right in my body. And so that was what my piece of the story was.
That's so powerful.
There's many other stories in it that maybe relate a little to mine, and some not at all.
Yeah.
Everybody's story in there is very different about their experiences. People who lost their jobs, people who were fighting the system from long before this happened, people who woke up in the middle of it and was like, what the fuck is going on? So many different layers, and I think that is the power of this book, that perhaps Sarah had an awareness might happen, but I don't think she could have even conceived of the magnitude of the fact that all of these stories came together, and you cannot read that book and not connect with at least one of those stories.
That's so dope.
It is one of the most powerful things that I've ever read, and to be also part of it, I feel incredibly humbled by that, because
and rewarding.
It is this gateway for me. Now I'm like, well, now I have no excuse.
No excuse.
I know a publisher, and I have the ability to write, and I know my story, so I have to get on it. And I am working on it. I'm so excited to add author of my own book, all on my own, to this list one day soon.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. And speaker.
Yeah, and speaker.
All the things.
Yeah, so it is a great book. How
many pages did you get to write?
Well, here's the funny part. So, like I said, verbose, if nothing else. So I can't remember. I think that Sarah had given us like a 25 to 3,000 word limit.
Okay.
And so I wrote 5. and then I sent it in, and I was like, you are the editing queen. You take out what you need. And she wrote back, I can't take out anything.
Dope.
And so, so my story was put as chapter 1, which was an incredible honor.
It was?
Yeah.
I'm so excited to read it.
So how many pages was it?
I think 12 pages.
12 pages.
So dope.
Okay.
Yeah, and
wow.
There was actually so much that came out of that I couldn't have comprehended prior to it. So I did write about my ex-husband and the end of our marriage, and a couple things about him. And so in that process, I had to get his permission to print this. And we had built quite a good relationship up until that point. We were in the middle of a divorce. So we had been separated for 7 years, but neither of us had cared to
do the next step
for that. Yeah. It didn't seem necessary. And in hindsight, I'm really glad, because we probably would have paid a lot of money to fight over things. That we didn't have to fight over anymore.
Totally.
That's hilarious.
And so we sat together in a Tim Hortons, and we went over what we agreed upon in the divorce. And then I said, I need you to read this piece and let me know if there's anything that you want me to take out. If you're okay with it, I need you to sign this. And he said to me, this is your story. So you get to tell this. And I trust you that you will be gracious to me, but if there's anything in there that doesn't sit well with me, it's probably because it's hard for me to recognize your experience.
That's emotional.
So he read it, and I'm gonna cry.
I know, me too.
He read it, and he called me, and he apologized for leaving. And we had been split for 7 years at that point, and I had never asked him why he left. I was so afraid that he was going to say it was because I was a horrible person.
No.
Why else would you walk out on your wife and your kids if it wasn't because she was completely intolerable. And so I got the guts to ask him why he left that day. And he said it had nothing to do with me.
Oh my gosh.
It was his own wounds, his own things that he had to deal with. He was really struggling with a few things.
Yeah.
And he couldn't face me anymore with his own shame.
Yeah.
And he had to go. And in hindsight, our divorce inspired both of our transformations. And it rocked my world that I spent 7 years in just utter shame.
Wow.
That I was left again. You know, my dad left and this person left and then my husband left, and he just offered me this amazing gift that made me realize that, you know, our worst fears are when we take this much time and we don't speak them out loud, they just become giant and insurmountable.
Yeah.
And
So much fuel. You're fueling it.
yeah,
And it's becoming its own entity.
and the vulnerability to ask him and be okay to hear the answer, be okay that he might say I wasn't great to him. You know, it was one of the most healing experiences. So I could have never imagined that the book would have offered me that. And about a month later, I was on a solo trip. So every year my kids go with him for 10 days and I go away by myself.
Beautiful.
And so I had taken a trip, drove down to California, and was sleeping in my van, and I decided I was going to go to the Grand Canyon. And I'm sitting at the Grand Canyon, and my phone beeps, and I see an email, and our divorce is final. And I lose it. I'm staring at this canyon, this deep abyss, and I am alone, and I am heartbroken because I don't want to be married to this person anymore, but I never wanted to be divorced. And I didn't want that to be my story. I didn't want that to be my kids' story.
Yeah.
And I have to face the fact that no matter what life I live, it will never be the childhood dream I have. I will never get to be the girl who met the boy and fell in love and stayed together forever. My story will always be a diversion of that. And there was so much grief in that for me. And I texted him and I said, I just got the paperwork. And he said, I got it too. And I said, how are you doing? And he said, I'm really sad. Like, this isn't what I wanted for us.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're in this place now, but and the fact that he was the comfort for me in that, you know, we talked,
special.
I cried, he cried. Like, that couldn't have happened without all of these little pieces, without the pandemic, without the way that he left, without the work that he did, without the work that I did. None of that could have happened. And now I have this incredible relationship with him that was probably how it should have always been.
You got it.
Right?
It's friendship.
We are friends. It's weird still to sometimes say that because it's not something that's common with people. And he's not the first person I'll call.
No.
But he is somebody that I trust and I can rely on. And so this book has been one of the greatest gifts of my life. Not only because it opened and expanded my ability, it's the reason that I got a chance to speak at Kid Carson.
There you go.
And opened that door, and it's the reason that my next book will eventually come out. It's the reason that my coaching business has been so successful. And it's the reason that my kids ask me why their parents are divorced, because why would two people who get along so well not be able to
together.
be married? And then you have to explain to them, listen, we get along because we have one thing in common, and that's you.
Exactly.
If we had to talk about money, we would not be getting along. So that's why.
And it's like, you know, now you can look back and reflect, and for a lot of people watching that they just don't understand, like, why did this trauma happen to me? And like, you were sexually abused, or what had happened, that trauma. And it's like, it had to happen in your story because you kept evolving. You didn't just stay and stop at the relationship ending. You know, that was then the next step where he left. It was the best gift ever that could have happened. And you chose that, I believe, before we come here to say, okay, this is our next step. Now we're going to break through the next ceiling. And then it's like, well, we're going through the pandemic. Well, that triggered the childhood and the trauma. It's for you to write a fucking book, a piece of the book.
Yeah.
You know, like every single piece of despair and the times that we don't understand why is this happening to us is for a damn purpose. That's the best purpose. If you allow yourself to get there. And you have. That's huge. Good for you.
I love the idea, regardless if it's true or not, it doesn't matter to me. But I love the idea that I chose this life.
Yes.
Because if I reflect on that, now that I know what my values in life are, I know that my values are connection through resonance. And I know my values are growth, personal growth. All of those things that happened to me were ways that I could live my values out loud. I will constantly grow because I'm always shedding layers that were put on me.
You got it.
And one of my best friends once wrote or asked me to write down every little thing that I had been through. Just like write down your experiences. And it was pages and pages. Like I thought I was never going to get pregnant because of endometriosis, and I've had miscarriages, and I've had stillborns, and I struggled to get pregnant, and I've had kids, and like I've had all of these experiences. And when your value is to connect to people through resonance, through your story, you need a story.
Yeah.
And so all of these experiences make it so that I can share myself with you, and you will see something in me that resonates with you, and you will feel seen in return.
Yeah.
Because you will be like, she gets it. She knows me. And how could I be this person without all of those experiences? Like my soul knew that this was my value. This was what I had to bring to the world.
That's right.
And I can't regret what happened. And it will be a constant healing process, right? Because when that new wound comes up, I'm back into the dating world right now. And holy fuck, everything that's coming up is like just wild. My brain is on fire all of the time because I'm dealing with things that I thought,
that you healed with. Yeah.
Or like, I've done as much personal growth I feel like as I can do at this stage of my life. I've plateaued because I am not being triggered anymore, right? Like I've healed my family relationships in a very significant way, and I've worked on my parenting, and I've worked on my relationship with my ex-husband. I call him my husband because he was my husband. So my husband and I have this relationship. My friendships are like deep and significant. My career is great. And then I'm like, yeah, that shadow piece over there with like my love life, that's where the next stage in my development is. And so, for the last couple of months I've felt in such angst because I'm like, I want to grow more, but I can't grow unless I have this kind of relationship. And then I've started dating somebody, and then all this stuff, and I'm like, I can't. It's so no, I wanted this. No, I wanted this. Yeah. Yes. No, I'm in it. This is what I asked for. And my friends are constantly like, remember that you asked for work to do because you were feeling a little stagnant and you needed more material. And I'm like, yes. And I want to switch my story from being the person who has the stories that resonate with people's heartache and start to be the person who has the stories that resonate with people's triumphs.
Yes. That's right.
Right? I've done that piece of it, and now my journey is in like figuring out how to receive being loved and appreciated and adored by a man that, previously my story has been that's not possible for me.
And now it is.
And it is possible.
That's so powerful.
And it's because you love yourself.
Yeah.
So the person that you can call in is going to be somebody that can mirror that.
Yeah.
But the person we called in before mirrored what we didn't love about ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just constant.
It's so crazy that, like, I chased love for so long. I tried to, convince them that I was worth staying because I didn't believe that I was worth staying for. And then I do all of this work. So every morning, my Alexa wakes me up with an affirmation that says, Selena, you are worth the effort to love and know and understand.
Oh.
Because that was my wound. And then, I've dated somebody a little bit, and they seem to like really understand me without a lot of effort. And I was like, oh, maybe it's not that I am worth the effort. Maybe it's that I'm easy to love. Maybe my story that I'm now shedding, because the worthiness piece is there. I know that I'm worthy of somebody who treats me well and kind.
Fuck yeah.
I've done that work, but so maybe the next step is in believing that I'm actually easy to love. And if I've been hard to love in the past, it's because that person wasn't for me. That wasn't my connection.
Well, you wouldn't have been in alignment anyways if it was there was a hard resistance.
Right.
No, because again, just like what Kristen had said, that'd be a mirror of like still where you're at with the relationship with self.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so beautiful having a whole and complete person and another whole and complete person instead of trying to fucking fix each other and all the things.
Yeah.
And I think relationships are going to look so different now with like this new, whether we call it new earth, whatever you want to say, it's just this new alignment. Because it's like you can enjoy your sovereign self and your children and all of that, and then you get to go out when you have the time or when it aligns and go and date this person that loves you, honors you, and cares about you, and puts not only themselves first, but will put you. Yeah. So it's just it's going to be so cool to watch this whole new thing just evolve and see. It's not going to be like the past where, well, I need to get married, we need to get a house together, you need to have the babies. It's like, I've got my shit, I've got my home locked down, you've got your stuff, and then let's just do the cherry on top. Let's just explore and live a beautiful, abundant life. Why does it have to be, I'm looking for somebody to, bring into my home and have to be with them 24/7 morning and night? Maybe it will be different.
This is the conditioning, though.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's that living in that box that it's like, this is the truth and
it's a
only
dick in
the
a
truth.
box,
It's a dick in the box.
I'm so glad that came up. Yeah. I was worried we weren't going to make it through the episode.
You're like, I needed that line.
I needed that. Yeah, now I feel like I've been initiated. Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
I am part of the team.
You were part of the team the moment your shoes came off and you were on the stage.
Oh, shit.
You know what? This is the cool thing. Like, here you are in Calgary, and we're from here. We take this leap of faith to go there, and we meet these beautiful souls. It's like, when you call in your soul tribe, you can't stop. You just, there's nothing, there's no force that can stop the contract that we decided to sign up for. Yeah. You can't. I don't care what you say. So it's like, you want to call in your soulmate? Well, you know what? They're coming. They know about it. It's going to happen in divine timing. Stop trying to fucking make it happen. Yeah. Just let go and trust. It's all coming.
Oh, that's the work that I am in right now of like, because I live so much in my masculine energy, right? I am a single mom of 3 kids. I own 2 businesses. Yeah. I take care of, I am independent and fierce, and I want to experience soft and
be the feminine flower.
And so, and just to allow and to be guided by my intuition instead of the rules of success and
you're already there.
It feels so good.
We're fucking rebellious bitches, man.
We call ourselves the sacred rebels.
Yes.
Sacred rebels.
We're the wild ones.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're talking about with this. We talk about this a lot on the podcast, is being ready to receive, and that's in our feminine, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's like you need to do those things of just being. So go in nature, like receive a sound bowl healing, and just practice not doing. Because as mothers alone, it's like the laundry, the next task. So we're just doing. We're not fucking being enough. Yeah. So that will be a great challenge for you to be like, I'm going to be and receive and be the feminine flower.
Yeah. It is so funny that my work is to stop working.
Yeah.
To just allow.
How cool is that?
I'm like, okay, I got to wrap my mind around that, because I've been so determined on like, okay, I need to go to therapy, and I need to do this retreat, and I need to write in this book, and I need to do, and now I really do feel like I have this permission to allow, and things like the book came to me. I didn't seek that out.
You don't have to try to do
shit. I did the work to get it.
That's it.
I just allowed, and so wrapping my brain around, allowing love and that to come into my life. That's part of my journey.
Well, nurturing that flower, just giving it the seed. You got the seed. It's already blooming. Now we just gotta water it.
There you go.
Nurture it.
Nurture it.
One of the things I did, I stepped out of my comfort zone, is thanks to Kristen, I joined dance for the first time.
Lovely.
Yes, and we have an amazing dance teacher, and she comes right into our hometown, and we do these classes, and now we're getting ready to perform
every
on
10
a fucking
weeks
stage,
on the
and
stage.
it's like, it's so invigorating, and it's so fulfilling, and I was like, oh, I'm not a good dancer. I
I'm like,
fucking
yeah,
dance.
you just go.
Like, anybody can dance. It's just part of us.
It is.
It is.
I want to go back to the innate part of us, and going back to the stories, the book, you writing your book, and all the things. We talked to Sarah about this, and it's going back to our roots, our ancestral roots, and it's all about sharing the stories.
Yeah.
So people can resonate. So you continue staying in your lane, you're already doing the thing, and just allow the pieces to come in and fall into place as you go along. Because it's these stories is what resonates with people, and that's where you're going to build the community and that love, and just get it out there. And yet here you are. And one day you're going to have your own podcast. And
Yeah.
I feel like anybody who likes to talk seems to have a podcast.
Oh, did you also have talks too much on your report card?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
We made it. We made it.
Absolutely.
Mine is social butterfly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talks too much, and
Yeah.
if she applied herself, would be doing much better.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I apply myself.
I applied
right
myself
now.
in a different way. It just wasn't
Yeah.
the way that you guys liked it.
Well,
That's school,
when
right?
apply yourself to what brings you joy.
Yeah.
That is not socially acceptable. However, it is like the spice of life. Because if I apply myself to what brings me joy, I actually make impact. I was a social worker for 15 years
Right.
before I started my own business and then started coaching. So I did coaching in this context for a lot of years, mostly parent coaching, which is ironic because I was struggling with my own parenting.
Yeah.
Is
But
that
that's
how
the
it
way that
goes?
it is.
Is that
Yeah,
how it
for
goes
sure.
sometimes?
I mean, my job had significance and value, and I was helping people, except I was helping people in this small prescribed circle that I wasn't, more like a box, I wasn't allowed out of. And I was perpetuating so many issues because I didn't have the freedom to share my story, for instance. I couldn't sit with a mom whose kids had been removed by, Child Family Services and be like, I lived in foster care, and I get where your fear is about what's going to happen to your kids over there.
And
I
you
wasn't
can't
allowed
say
to do
that.
that. And yet,
That's fucked up.
wouldn't that have made that mom be like, okay, I can trust you?
That's right.
Right?
Game
And so
changer.
without your trust, you're not invested in your treatment and the ability to change and do the things that you need to do to bring your family back together. And so I was like, this job that I love, that I started to do because I wanted to make a difference, is eating my soul.
Yeah.
Even though it's exactly what I want to do. And so I left that and then started coaching in a context where I get to say whatever the fuck I want.
Oh shit.
And I only take clients that are ready and willing to do the work, that have some tolerance for radical self-honesty because it's required to do this inner work. And then I make a difference with this one person in such a broad way that she then impacts her kids and she impacts her relationships with her parents. And that creates this cycle that I was desperate to do as a social worker, but was just confined because I wasn't allowed to prioritize what brought me joy, which was connecting to people through my story.
Yeah.
And so, yes, when you apply yourself, you do amazing things, but
Yeah.
people like us apply ourselves to things that bring us joy.
Yeah.
And so when we're not allowed to prioritize that, like, that's my littlest one that, she just does whatever she wants in school, and they're so concerned about her, and I'm
What are
like,
they concerned about?
if she doesn't graduate, like, she'll be fine. But, like, if that's what you're really concerned about, first of all, she's in grade 3.
Oh my
Dang.
god.
And second of all,
Excuse me.
like, she's not going to do a job where she sits at a desk. If you haven't figured that out about this kid by now, Like, you don't know her at all. And so if you're telling me that she's struggling to sit still, I'm going to tell you that's because that's not what she's meant to do.
That's right.
And maybe let her go play outside or
Take a couple laps.
So
whatever she needs to do.
this is a good topic, and I was just thinking about it in my head, and then you nailed it. And it's like these little boys and these little girls that are in school, and they're told that they need to be on medication because they can't sit still and do these things. It's like, no, they are perfect exactly as they are. They are normal. They are fun. Maybe they're more creatives. Maybe they need to have more painting, or they need to go outside and run around and be with nature. We're not meant to be in boxes and just to sit there and be told what to do. So I love that you shared that story. So it's like other parents out there, if they find that their kids are being told like, oh, there's, ADHD, or they've got this or they got that.
Yeah.
No, they're fucking perfect.
Well, and I think for me, when that stuff started coming up in school, I had to ask myself, like, am I going to consider medicating my child because that is in her best interest, or am I trying to make her more palatable to adults? And if I am trying to make her more easy to deal with from the perspective of adults, then I'm not serving her, because the adults can do the work to figure out how to best serve her. Her job is not to change herself so that she makes an adult's job easier. And so many of us as kids just were raised that way, regardless of ADHD, regardless of the medication conversation.
Yeah.
Of like, you do what I say, you're
here.
seen
and sorry, what is
seen
it? You're
and not heard.
Yes,
Best
seen
be
and not
seen,
heard.
not heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up.
Yeah. Like, and a lot of do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
And so we're
You
trying
need to sit at the same table.
fit into this, our kids into this box so that it's easier to parent them. Well, easy to
Nailed
parent
it.
kids are kids who end up having to do a lot of fucking work later in life to figure out who they are.
Shit.
And
You
can't
know?
speak their truth.
Those are not kids that are figuring out how to know and love themselves as children.
Yeah.
Because you have to really have your own ego in check to be able to raise a kid and let them be who they are.
No shit.
And I am not great at it all of the time. I have,
And that's
I have so
perfect.
many struggles with it. But I am aware that I'm not great at it all of the time.
Well, we're not meant to be
Yeah.
perfect at everything.
No,
We're
we
not
are
meant
meant
to
to
know
be
everything.
human.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think
Yeah.
if you can live in your own divine truth, creating that safe space for your kids, that's
Yeah.
that's all they need.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out how to be human. I'm like, we're just these next level beings and souls trying to figure out how to have a human experience confined
Right.
in bodies. What?
Right.
Yeah.
What is that?
What the fuck did we sign up?
What? It's like, Earth
Did we
school.
know for like we must have.
Yeah.
We've been here before. We definitely knew.
We just, what's great is that this lifetime we're able to wake up to it. This lifetime we're able to, get out of that conditioning and rewrite our future, and then have our children do the same. We're not stuck in these boxes, and it's beautiful. And we can just share the message with everybody else.
Yeah.
We're the cleanup crew, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like, life is not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be, without disappointment. And so when you kind of accept that there's going to be those ebbs and flows and some of these things are going to be difficult, then you can enjoy the good stuff.
That's
When you're
right.
spending so much of your time trying to avoid feeling and experiencing the bad stuff, you're not feeling any of it. I mean, when I got diagnosed with endometriosis, they immediately prescribed me with painkillers.
Mm-hmm.
And so by age 12, I was on painkillers all the time and was addicted to Dilaudid before I was even 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I was constantly taking pain medication to avoid feeling anything, but
Holy
not aware of
shit.
it, right?
That's
Because
right.
I had been diagnosed with an illness which was legitimate and did cause me a lot of pain, and was never explained to me that the withdrawal symptoms from morphine, it's like synthetic heroin. It is the most
Holy
excruciating withdrawal that I have personally experienced. And so obviously when the pain medication wore off, I was in pain. And so I would attribute that to my endometriosis and to my chronic pain. I'd been in a car accident, and so that was part of it. So I would take pain medication,
Just
and
feed it.
Holy
I
fuck.
was like continuing this cycle and also able to lie to myself about it because a doctor was giving me every single medication I took.
Because you're supposed to trust them.
Right. And so, again, when this pandemic hit and I was like, oh, we're supposed to trust the doctors. No, I already know that they're going to give a traumatized, like a child who has severe PTSD likely from all of her trauma. We're going to give her pain medication because we don't recognize that trauma lives in the body. And, you know, your issues are stored in your tissues. They didn't see that. And so I'm on this cycle where I'm taking pain medication and I'm numbing. And I realize that, like, I've never felt my feelings in my entire life. I don't know, because I have been avoiding pain. All that has done is made me live in constant pain, because the anxiety of experiencing pain is just as bad as the actual pain. The anxiety that you live in, being afraid that somebody's going to leave you, is just as bad as somebody leaving you.
It's actually worse. It's every day, all the time.
There's no relief from it.
You got it.
And so realizing, like, I ended up quickly after I left my church and my husband had left, somebody had given me a nice heads up that I was an addict, and I was like, I'm not. I have a doctor. And it was a man that I loved dearly, and so I admired him, and I heard him when he said it.
Beautiful.
Whoa.
And
That's so special.
I was like, oh God. And he was like, you know, if you just used cannabis, like, I was on so many pills a day, every antidepressant, every anti-anxiety med, every muscle relaxant, Percocet and Dilaudid, all of these things.
No, this was.
You probably wouldn't have been here.
Did you tell this part in Calgary?
No, I don't think so.
This would be
so
a good one to share. Hey?
Well, I'm really glad this came up.
No, this is so powerful for
is,
people. Like, I'm getting a little bit emotional about this because, I mean, I see it a lot in, you know, just over the years of counseling and being in the beauty industry. Kristen and I have been in the beauty industry forever. So we're always kind of holding space for people in their traumas. And that happens so more often than not. And I did mine with alcohol. Yeah. Especially during the pandemic. Yeah. I didn't know. I was like, my best friend died, and I'm like, I'm fucking out. Yeah. I'm going to drink my way through this, and I'm not going to feel shit, because this is just where I'm at, and I made all the excuses why this was
and that's
where I'm at.
That's an acceptable coping by society. Yep. Right? It's legal.
Yep.
And prescriptions are given by a doctor, so that is an acceptable way to deal with it.
You can buy alcohol just at the store.
Yeah.
Go to Save on Food.
So easy. So easy to buy it.
Oh, yeah, in BC you can do that. It's so strange. Well, so this man, he was like, you know, you should just smoke pot, and then you wouldn't be on all of these drugs.
Wow.
And I had this aversion to pot because I had associated my dad's an alcoholic, and he smoked pot. And I had associated his behaviors with the pot my whole life. Okay. And so I got a quick lesson that it was likely more related to alcohol. And so I went and got a prescription for cannabis use, because I've never, ironically, I've never used drugs because I didn't want to be an addict like my dad. So if I had a prescription, that's how unconscious, right? And so I get a prescription and I start using cannabis. Within 3 months, I am off every single medication. 16 pills a day. I have been on antidepressants since I was 12 years old.
What the fuck?
I was taking Ativan like it was candy.
Holy fuck.
I couldn't even, and so I'm smoking pot, and I'm going about my life, and then then about 2 weeks before the pandemic, the person that helped me get off of the medication relapsed on drugs. Shit. And I was like, I'm still doing it.
Dang.
I'm still numbing.
Yes.
The pot has just replaced the drugs. And it saved my life. And I would recommend it to anybody who is in that stage of transition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was the only thing that would have gotten me through. it allowed me to decompress enough that I was able to learn skills to deal with my anxiety.
That's right.
And to deal with my depression so that I didn't need to. And so
it seems to bring a bit of a more logic sense when you're heightened.
And it gave me like a spiritual aspect to connect, right? Because it would slow down my overactive mind so that I could really, you know, connect to my soul and spirit and whatnot. And I had this awareness that I was still an addict. And so I decided to quit. And then 2 weeks later, pandemic. And so then I was committed. I'm very proud that I am a person, if I make a decision, I ain't going back. So I made a decision.
That's amazing.
And I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And then I just committed to feeling all of my feelings. I'm just going to do it. And so I have been clean and sober for 3+ years.
Fuck yes. Wow. Another high five.
Amazing.
And it, you know, it's a different kind of sober in some ways because I never used to get high.
Yeah.
I used so that I didn't feel.
Yeah.
And now I feel shit. But now I feel shit. I feel joy.
Yes.
And like excitement. And I know the difference between excitement and anxiety in my body. And when I feel mad, it goes through me and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sit buried under some sort of numbing agent.
Right.
And so, like, the person that I get to be now, who gets to be fully in this life and enjoying and experiencing the good and the bad, I couldn't be that person while I was numbing out. Even though I wasn't really an addict by my
different standard.
Yeah, by my quote addict.
By the Western.
Yeah.
This whole story, I'm so grateful that you didn't share it in Calgary because it's captured on Raw Babes. But I'm telling you, powerful, and this would be so good for many.
Yeah.
It's going to be 3 years. I don't drink or do anything like that.
3 years for you.
It'll be 3 years September.
Nice.
From alcohol. And I microdose, not very much anymore. I used to kind of like do that as a thing, but now it's like I'm just happy with being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's harder. I think, was it Glennon Doyle was like, I've never been fine a day since I got sober. I've never been fine.
Yeah.
But I choose it. I choose this.
It's so good.
We're not coasting anymore, baby.
No.
Yeah.
No, we're in this.
And feel all the things, because it's such a gift.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who made it a thing that feeling fear needs to be bad? Yeah. Who made crying or anger, like, why does that have to be bad? Why can't that be like, oh, I'm with this? Like Eckhart Tolle, he'd be like, you know, you're with this right now. It's not who you are. You aren't anxiety. You aren't fear. It's going to pass. But be present. You're not going to die. You're okay.
Because when you're a kid, you're like, you're fine.
Yeah.
Suck it up.
It's like, don't cry. You're good.
Or your parent tries to, like, make sure that you never feel disappointment because they can't tolerate seeing you in pain.
And
my daughter, after that whole conversation, she's like, I feel so guilty. And I was like, that's okay. Guilt informs you that you were out of your integrity. It is information. It's not something to avoid. It's okay to feel guilty. It doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. But if you welcome it because it has information for you, then it passes through you. It moves through you. Now go run the block and finish the stress cycle. You'll be fine.
Yeah. No.
Go for it. Good. Yeah. So good. I love your story and your shares. I resonate with so many things. Even the endometriosis thing. Mine was cysts on the ovaries. Yeah. Same thing. 12. Yeah. It's all that fear, all that trauma, riddled. No wonder, and it's intersacral in the sexual parts. Yeah. No wonder. It's like, it's so clear. It's like now when children or kids or teens are going through something and hormonally, well, we know where to go now. Mm-hmm. There's trauma in there. Yeah. There's stored shit in our liver and our kidneys.
Yeah.
Wow.
That pain, like, I don't experience pain almost ever with my endometriosis.
No.
But I recognize that it was in my head a lot. Yeah. And that doesn't make it that it wasn't real. It was very real.
Yeah.
I was in excruciating pain all of the time, but it was because I couldn't live in my own body. I didn't feel safe
God.
in there. And healing all of that, it's so hard to watch people be in pain and know that if they, were able to heal whatever it is that is causing the anxiety and making them, I mean, this obviously isn't across the board, but in so many situations when trauma, I mean, I was listening to Dr. Gabor Mate, and he was saying that there's an 80% correlation between endometriosis and sexual abuse. We can't deny stuff like that.
That's right.
Right?
Wow.
And so start treating the little girl
Yeah.
that was, and stop giving her Percocet as, a 12-year-old
Yeah.
medical treatment.
I can't believe you were prescribed.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
But it's part of the story.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Overcoming.
where we're at. So coming into New Earth, we're realizing, how we store the energy in our bodies. We're getting more into Eastern medicine, more herbs, essential oils. Not saying that the medical side, there's no place for it, because certainly there is. I mean, God,
Yeah.
I need an X-ray if I break my arm.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know if
Yeah.
there's, something actually going on in my body that I cannot see.
Yeah. You got some gangrene going on. You need some heavy duty shit.
Oh, yeah.
There's shit
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
everything.
And
yeah.
two, I also believe that when you are in the depths of despair, sometimes you're in it so deep that you might need some antidepressants just to kind of bring the emotions down so you can see clearly, and then get the fuck off that shit.
My analogy is that antidepressants are a life jacket.
Yes.
They will save you if you are drowning.
Yeah.
You will
But
not
so
learn
will-
how to swim.
Yeah,
with
that's
one arm.
right.
And so
100%.
that's actually, you nailed it. But
Yeah.
it's like, there is another way.
Like,
It's
you,
there always
you
is
need
another
it.
way.
If you are in the deep end and you are drowning,
Yes.
you need
Yeah.
somebody to throw you
A
a
life
rope,
jacket.
man.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
going to make it.
Yeah.
But then use that, like, okay, I'm grounded, I'm safe, I'm not
Yeah.
floundering anymore in
Yeah.
the deep end. I'm going to teach myself how to swim. Like,
Yeah.
that is what using cannabis offered me, was this, it was the life vest for me to be able to practice slowly how to be in my body and how to deal with anxious moments
Yeah.
and how I can tolerate discomfort a little bit
Yeah.
and teach myself that I have all of the tools. If something circumstantially happens in my life, if something were to ever happen to my children, I will be drowning.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely will be drowning, and I will need some sort of external support.
Mm-hmm.
I know that.
And that may be that may be just calling in your team
For sure.
this time.
it
looks different.
It could be therapy. It could be
Yeah.
a lot of different things. But
Yeah.
I
like,
thought that too myself.
I don't want to live. The reason that I stopped, like, I don't drink caffeine.
I don't
I
know.
don't, because, and not because I think there's anything wrong with it, but because I was addicted to it.
Yeah.
I needed to get up in the morning and have a coffee, or I had a headache.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live my life being stuck to something external to
Good
me.
for you.
I want to be able to be okay on my own, and if I need external support here and there, I will take it. I go to therapy. I do EMDR because it works for me and it helps me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to feel like I can't do the work on my own because I'm so reliant and addicted or attached to something outside of myself.
Yeah, because if that wasn't there when you need it, you're
Yeah.
fucked.
Oh my God.
You're
and
fucked.
living in a world where, like, if I was going to run out of Percocet, if I didn't have any like, that anxiety, I never want to feel that way again.
No.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Or if we run out of coffee or
Yeah.
chocolate, I'd be, I don't know,
I'm fine.
Well-
rather upset if we did.
I would prefer
okay.
not to have to do life without chocolate. But I think we'd manage.
We would manage.
we can do
would
anything.
manage,
We
but
can
that would be
do
sad time.
we can do the hard. We
I
can.
did hear the cacao trees were coming into, little
Into
scarcity.
blue. Oh,
Yeah, that was a while ago.
I don't even know.
I don't even know if that was true.
Yeah, I can't even
was like-
believe that shit.
I was like, oh, distraction.
Yeah, distractions. Like nope. The cacao
Oh my
tree
gosh.
is doing well.
It's
It's blooming.
I'm with you.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
that stuff will just pull you.
No.
And you're like,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, I have to really worry about this election right now. I
No.
care, but it is not swallowing me.
No.
No.
It's
Yeah,
what you
absolutely
focus
not.
on expands.
Yeah.
Stay in the love, the heart coherence.
I like
So
that. What
good.
you focus on expands.
Yes. Okay, so where can our Did you have something else you wanted to ask before I was going to ask?
Mm-mm. I don't know why I did that.
I don't know. She was just like, I was like, okay.
Yes.
So where can our peeps find you? What's your handle on social media? All the things. Where can they potentially book with you if they want a coach? They want to
All right.
embark down that path.
So I teach a self-connection course that I wrote from my own experience. I just lived it and wrote it. And so I run this course a couple of times a year, and that is my sole program right now. So I teach how to live in self-compassion, how to trust yourself, how to listen to your inner guidance system, whatever that looks like for you, and know your values. So I do that, and it is through Instagram. My handle is @soul.sufficient.
Beautiful.
And soul sufficient is my deeply held belief and practice that in this and every moment I am enough. And so that is what I teach. And I also soulsufficient.com.
Okay.
And yeah.
And get your book.
And you can get The Sovereign on my website or my Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have lots of, I will sign a copy happily for you
Yes.
and send it off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
yeah.
Thank you so much from the fullness of our heart for being on Raw Babes and flying over here and connecting. We're so grateful.
Well, we have one more question.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'd love to answer one more question.
You're like, I have it in me for one more. Okay.
Yes, please.
Who has made the most influence in your life? Mic drop.
I have to pick one.
Yes.
Just one.
Most
that's-
influence. It's usually the one that
The
first
first
comes
thing.
to your mind.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I wasn't expecting this, but
I know.
I feel like Sarah Swain. I don't know if I would have answered that the same had. I don't know. That is surprising to me because I adore this woman and she has influenced me in so ways.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm feeling a little bit emotional because I really do just love that woman.
Oh, yeah.
And we love her,
Yeah.
too. She's next level.
Yeah.
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 She is.
Aw.
Yeah, she is the real deal.
I
No
agree.
shit.
Yeah.
And that's why we had both of you ladies on the Raw Babes show.
Exactly.
Sure, Raw Babe. Yeah.
That feels more humbling than anything else that I share space with this person who I admire so much. So
Yes.
I'm so honored.
Well, we're all in alignment.
We're all so
And,
honored.
yeah.
For you, for Sarah, for the Kid Carson show, for all of this. You know, yeah, so grateful. And it's so fucking cool because it brings me back to that moment. And I'm just like, it's emotional even for me. I said to Tiffany on our show, I said, watch. Kid Carson is going to take this next leap and watch what's going to happen to him. He is going to bloom. He has leaned into the unknown and he's going to blossom to this incredible network. And to the very fact that I had said that sitting in my home with Tiffany to being here with you, and because you're on speaking at his event, and Tiffany and I flew to Calgary for his event and we're here again, is such a 360. It's so, to meet Sarah, to meet you, to do all this is,
This is it. So
It's just heart
people
coherence.
like Kid Carson, like you, like Sarah, give others the courage to step into their own skin with true, authentic being, and having enough courage to even doing it. Like it's so courageous what you have done in your story. Like it takes a lot of courage to share all that you've shared and actually making a blueprint into this world.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for answering the call.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everybody. For
Yes,
listening.
thank you guys. This has been such a, it's just truth. It's just raw truth when you're just centered in your heart.
Yeah.
It's heart coherence.
We're like, cut it out.
Let's cut it. Vagina sauce. We'll end it on that. We didn't get to say that word either.
Oh.